The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. 14:20 in the morning for this 26th day or 27th day of October 2023. Today's show, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek.com, the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and save yourself $20 on your first purchase. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to BellyUpSports.com for all their great articles and other great podcasts, such as Rise to the Occasion, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, and my favorite, the guys over at Craft Brewed Sports. Thank you once again for making us a part of your day each and every day from all of us here at 1420 World Headquarters. Anyways, today I'm joined by one of the writers for Belly Up Sports and the host of the back pages on WBCR 88.3 The Saint to talk some New York Rangers hockey this morning. Brian, how you doing today, sir?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing quite well. Let's get into some Rangers hockey right off the bat. They got up to a 4-2 start. By the time people listen to this, they'll probably be 5-2 as they're facing the lowly Edmonton Oilers tonight. That's hard to say, the lowly Edmonton Oilers once again. What a wreck. Can't find a goaltender. One of those things we won't dwell too much on the Oilers' woes so far. But the Rangers got a 4-2 start. They're doing okay, obviously. You'd rather be 4-2 than 2-4. What's the feeling around Madison Square Garden of the team that GM Chris Drury has thrown together this year?
There's a lot of excitement because I think going into the year, there was a bit of an unknown with the Rangers because, sure, they added a guy like Blake Wheeler, but there was no major offseason change. It was more of like, all right, we're going to hope, Kakko and Lafreniere take that next step, hope this roster is good enough, and that's how we make the playoffs and what Peter Laviolette can do. But so far through other than like the Nashville game, the Rangers have looked like alive and well. Like practices are crazy. They're all hugging each other. There's a big feeling around this Ranger team that this could be a year that something special happens.
They're always on that team that's kind of been licking the jar for years. After first round loss last spring to the Cross River rival New Jersey Devils, what's something that the Rangers might have done this year to maybe get them past the Devils? Because the Devils look like they're a great team. They got those Hughes boys over there rocking and rolling already. That's a heck of a hockey team over there in Jersey. What have the Rangers, you think, what have they done maybe to say, okay, we're going to play the Rangers? Because it's kind of the way it's going to work out, the way the seedings happen. What's something that the Rangers might have done to get past that first round hump? And it's tough winning, but what's something the Rangers might have done this year to maybe get past that hump?
Well, I think it's the changes of lines that Laviolette has brought in. Like we had the top line of Kreider, Zibanejad, and Capo. You have the second line of Panarin, Hito, and Lafreniere, which has been the best line out there all year. It's just guys that can play with each other. Like Panarin and Lafreniere are the perfect guys to pair up. Like it's that, perfect guys to pair up. That kind of offense will help us, take on the Devils. And then, of course, if Igor continues to play the way he is and be that brick wall, just get a hot goaltender and you're fine.
That's one of those things. We'll get to the goaltender in half a second. I'm glad you brought up Alexei Lafreniere. Ever since getting drafted first overall in 2020, yeah, he had the COVID stuff, and he set his development back in junior hockey. But so far, he has been I don't want to say underwhelming. He's been whelming. He's been just right there, not really doing a whole bunch. He's been okay at best. Is this the year that the underachieving, they were hoping was going to be a superstar? Is this the year it's crap bringing off the pot for Lafreniere?
Oh, yeah, this is Lafreniere's make or break year. As I mentioned before, he's finally getting top 6 minutes, which is something a lot of Rangers fans have been screaming about for years to Lafreniere, how, maybe he'll be good if he gets top 6 minutes. Now he has it, and now he's playing with a player like Artemi Panarin. He is being put in the best position possible to maybe not become that superstar player, but become a top line type forward. If he, fails this year, or again, it's just not another step up, I can see the Rangers moving on from Lafreniere this offseason. But I have a feeling he's got 3 goals so far. Should have had a couple assists. The puck, bounced a certain way. I think we're starting to see a next step from Lafreniere right now.
It kind of has to be, because eventually, like his new contract will end up coming in. He'll want the $6 to $7 million or whatever it's going to be in the 8 years that all these guys seem to be getting when they get to that quasi next level. I don't know what the next level, if you had to read it, what it actually was. I wouldn't know what it was, because it just seems they hand these contracts out like candy at the store down the street. And you don't know why some guys end up deserving that. Lafreniere is like going to be looking for something, and you don't go first overall by accident.
No.
There's something that somebody sees, and yes, there have been over the years. There have been some first overall busts. Let's go back to the 1990s, a long time before you were born. But Alexander Daig, a long time ago, that didn't turn out so well, and he actually ended up playing for the Rangers, I think, at the end of his career. But usually these guys get these picks right. And like, what's the ceiling you think for a guy like Lafreniere? Like playing with Panarin, now that they're saying here, this is on you now. Like you're playing with one of the top guys in the National Hockey League, and if you can't get it done with Panarin, you're not going to get it done.
Yeah. No, so the best part about Lafreniere is he's only 22 years old. Like, I think that gets lost a lot because he's been in the league since he was, 18, 19 years old. He's still a very young player. So the ceiling is still pretty high. Do I think he can still be a superstar? Probably not, but could he be a serviceable top line guy? I definitely think that's where we could see Lafreniere going.
Yeah, so you hope for the best for a kid like that, and they don't get, because it's hockey is such a what have you done for me now, not what have you done for me later thing. Because now the lifespan of these players is a lot shorter than it was even 10 years ago, and they want to get some return on their investment, not now but right now. There's an old saying also there, Brian. You show me a good goalie, I'll show you a good coach, and that's one of those things that the Rangers have one of the best in the game with Shesterkin there. He's one of the Vezina already in his young career. He's one of the best in the game, and he can mask some problems. Is that a good thing? It's a great thing, because there's not many great goalies in the league, and I think the Rangers have one. A lot of teams have serviceable guys, but the Rangers have a guy in Shesterkin that's really damn good.
Yeah. No, I always compare the Rangers to the Green Bay Packers, how they went from Favre to Rodgers. The Rangers went from Lundqvist to Shesterkin. Like, where Rangers fans have been spoiled, at least people like my age in their early 20s, they've known nothing but good Ranger goaltender. So yeah, it's awesome having a goaltender like that. So like, if the offense is playing sloppy one day or the defense is playing sloppy, that the goaltender can step up and still win you that game that you probably should lose.
It's funny you talk back in my vintage there. The goaltenders of the day were guys like Marty Brodeur and Mike Richter out there in your part of the world. And you moved on to guys like Eddie Belfour. And there were so many great goaltenders. Curtis Joseph could be included in that. Patrick Roy, obviously. The Rangers have they got a good one there with Shesterkin, because I don't know why I can never remember most teams have a guy who's serviceable. Aiden, what was it? Who the goalie for the Golden Knights? Well, I can't remember his name. Aiden Hill. Aiden Hill. See, if you can't remember the guy who won a Stanley Cup last year, it just goes to show that the goaltending position, yes, it is 100% important, because a good goaltender can win you games. A bad goaltender can lose you games, obviously. But if you stop all the easy ones, a few of the hard ones, and give your team a chance to win, which Shesterkin does, that's a plus for Laviolette 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely a plus for
the team is going to be going to score by committee a lot. Obviously, Panarin's going to get some goals, and Zibanejad, and they hope that Lafreniere can do something. Who else going to have to put the puck in the net this year for the Rangers to be successful?
Well, I mean, he's a top line guy, but Chris Kreider is going to have to continue to do his famous tip in. Like, every time the puck shot, he's just somehow right there with his stick in the right position and put the puck in net. He's been our offense for the past 2 years. Like, he had scored 50 goals 2 years ago. So, I'm not asking Kreider to do 50 again, but, I would like to see another 30-goal season out of Chris Kreider, especially if he's, on a line with Mika and they have, like, that connection between the two of them.
He's a great player. Like, you look at what he can do night in, night out. He's one of those guys. Like you brought him up in the first question I asked you. Blake Wheeler, the Rangers tried to bring him off the scrap heap. They got him off the waivers or off the whatever line once the Winnipeg Jets bought him out. It hasn't went great so far. He's in the back nine of his career. He was a great Jet for a long time.
Yeah.
What were they hoping to get out of Blake Wheeler? And what do you think? Like what's the kind of leash they have with him? Because they got him in a team-friendly contract, probably $1 million a year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's just there to hope and help. What kind of a leash do you think that they're going to have with Wheeler? And are they going to how long are they going to hold on to this guy? Because there's probably some guys down the minors who could maybe do the exact same thing.
So I think we're going to see a little bit of a longer leash from Wheeler, and it's not because of the way Wheeler's playing. It's more on Laviolette. Lively's been stressing line chemistry. He doesn't want to make any major line shakeups. So I think that will extend Wheeler's time a little bit. But I would say maybe around Thanksgiving, if Wheeler is still struggling like this, and he's not playing like Artemi Panarin is being double shifted in the third period, and Wheeler is being sat. Like, so I think by Thanksgiving, if we're still seeing this type of play, and if a guy like Brendan Offman in Hartford, if he starts lighting the league up, he could definitely find himself in that third line slot, and Wheeler could be, in Hartford or unemployed.
More than likely unemployed, because I don't think he would go down to Hartford.
Yeah, no.
I'm assuming he's got a couple of bucks in the bank, so going down the minors probably isn't an option at this point in his career. One pickup I like, I don't know how much playing time he's going to get. Coach Shesterkin is so good, but one that they kept him last year and everything else. I like because I've always been a Quick guy. I think he's a great goaltender. Obviously he's another guy on the back end of his career, but it never hurts to have a guy with a winning pedigree. And obviously Quick has the Stanley Cups with the Los Angeles Kings. What does that bring, you think, to that Rangers locker room who hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 1994? Because winning's hard, and any advice you can get from anyone, even if it is and I'm an old goalie from way back, so any advice you can get, even from a dumb old goalie who's been hitting the head with a frozen puck now and then, what kind of value does that have to a locker room, do you think?
Oh, so much value, because it's veteran leadership. It's like, all right, we're going to listen to Jonathan Quick because he knows what it takes to get to a Stanley Cup. He knows what it's like to go on a deep run, go through that. He brings that voice, that experience that the Rangers are kind of lacking right now.
That's one thing that's invaluable, right? Like, even if a guy's on the bench, and it might be a good thing for a backup goalie who gets in every third or fourth game or every fifth game or sixth game, whatever it might be. These guys don't play like Grant Fierbat did back playing 75 games anymore. But if they can get 20 decent starts out of Quick, and he can be around the team and be on the bench and help out, I think that's 100% invaluable. Like you said, it definitely can't hurt, because there's not many games that they might give him the start tonight in Edmonton with that bad team. Who knows? But
McDavid, why not?
It's what a disaster. That's we had high hopes here in Alberta for the Oilers, but it's early. But it's actually not early, because you mentioned American Thanksgiving, which is about 3 weeks away, and in the history of the National Hockey League, especially in the last 20 years, teams that are in a playoff spot at American Thanksgiving, they usually end up making the playoffs come April. Like, it's crazy to think that the first few weeks of the season, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like Memorial Day in baseball. When you get to Memorial Day, it's like, I think like 75% of division winners on Memorial Day have won the division. It's crazy how a short sample size can dictate how the rest of the season can go.
What did you think of the NHL's Frozen Frenzy they had the other night, where they had all 32 teams playing 16 games and staggered starts and the like? I got a bit of a gripe with that. I'm here in Western Canada, unless in the app, I don't know why it wasn't working for whatever reason, but
right.
I couldn't watch most of the games because they were on blackout here or blackout there and everything else.
Yeah.
And does hockey stub their toe a lot marketing this game? Like, it seemed odd to me that, like, my sister lives on Vancouver Island, and she's a Winnipeg Jets fan from years back. And they can't watch Jets games because it's blacked out on TSN 3 or 4 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
do you guys have that same issue where you can't watch most of the games?
Yeah, no, that's an issue up here too. Like, we're blacked out. Like, I'm up in the Albany region, so like we can't get Buffalo, we can't get the Rangers, the Islanders, or the Devils. That's 4 major teams that we just can't watch because of the blackouts. No, the blackouts are the worst thing in sports. I think it hurts games. It hurts viewing for younger fans, because most fans my age, they're not buying cable anymore. They're streaming, and if they can't stream their favorite team or can't stream a team they're interested in, they're not going to watch. There's so much else they can watch. They're not going to be like, all right, I can't watch the Rangers. I guess I'll watch this, Canadian Wild game. They don't have any connection to those teams, so they'll move on to something else.
That's so bizarre to me, Brian, that you have an area there with 4 teams right in the area, right in state. I'll call New Jersey in state, and Buffalo's right there, and you can't watch them. Like, it's unbelievable. No. Like, I was in New York a couple summers ago, and I went to the Mets game on the Monday night, Mets-Yankees game. And then we were walking around Manhattan the next night, and you couldn't find it on TV anywhere because it was on Apple Plus or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it was so bizarre how streaming's taken over. And I don't think it's good for the game. I understand that it's a moneymaker because you got to buy the apps and the blah. I get it. But at the end of the day, it's the fans who pay the bills. right? And if
Yeah.
the fans can't see it, they're not going to come back. Like, because now
Yeah.
we live in a right now moment, and clicks and everything else is right now, and we have the attention span of a drowned rat. And if you can't see it, you ain't coming back. And and especially guys your age, where hockey, like you're a hockey nut, obviously, but you
Oh,
have
yeah.
guys who aren't. And if their eyeballs can't get on it, then you're not going to ever go back.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be exposed to the sport. Like, my love of hockey came from ironically enough, the Danbury Trashers. I was living in the town right next to them. That's where I was exposed
Oh,
to the game at
really?
a young age. Yeah. Yeah. I live in the next town over from the Trashers, where I'm from in college right now. But yeah, no, like, I was exposed to the Trashers that way, and I'm like, oh, this sport's awesome. If you can't get exposed to it, you're not gonna watch it.
The Danbury Trashers, they took hockey to a different level. I don't know if you could even call that hockey. That reminds me of when I played junior hockey years and years ago. That tomfoolery, that's one thing, and like we can talk about this if you want, but I grew up in an era where, like, even you go back to the '80s, when fighting was very prevalent and it was all part of the game. There's always the who won, or were there any fights? Nobody cared who scored goals. It's like, I understand because of concussion protocols and the damage it can do to people. And we lost a lot of players back in the 2010s to suicide from CTE and everything. But is fighting something that I shouldn't say miss. Oh, yeah, I'll say miss. Is fighting something that's kind of missed from the game of hockey? Because it's kind of something that's expected, even though it hasn't really been prevalent in the game for quite a few years.
Yeah, I think it's missed a little bit. I think there's been a change to more like it used to be the built roster around grit. Like, Enforcer was, the player to be in hockey. Now it's gone to more speed and skill, and we're seeing the Enforcer kind of get its way out. But no, fighting was a really unique part of hockey. Like, if you knew nothing about hockey, you knew there was fighting involved, and that was an easy way to like market. Like, hey, even if you don't like hockey, you get to see two men fight each other. Like, that's kind of crazy to watch if you're on the ice. So yeah, no, it's definitely from a marketing standpoint alone, fighting is missed a little bit in the game.
Well, the Danbury Trashers, they did that. So there used to be an old saying years ago, I went to the fights and a hockey game broke out. It was one of those things, right?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun to watch that. Like, it was just a different era, obviously. And
Mhm.
but like now, with everybody's love for violence, you wonder why they wouldn't bring it back. Like, we understand why the health issues that they had.
Yeah, we don't want to hurt anyone, but like, it's also a unique part of the game because in any other sport, you get into a fight, you're being suspended for 10 games.
Well,
Hockey, sit in the box for 5 minutes, you come out and do it again.
you look at what's happening in the Quebec League, and I think you discussed that, was they're banning fighting, right? And it's one of those things, you're like, what the hell is going on here? Because now you can get guys going around the ice, sticking guys in the face, and there's no consequence for their action, like there was where there would be a little tap on the laces, and it was said, okay, you can do that, but I'm going to go after your guy. I'm going to go after your Sidney Crosby or your whoever, because you don't have those enforcers anymore. And the Quebec League, I think they're going to figure that out. That's this article you wrote, correct?
Yeah, I wrote that article. Yep.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, no, it was fantastic. For Belly Up Sports, make sure you check that out. Obviously, winning a Stanley Cup is the goal for the Rangers. Is it a realistic one?
I have to see what this team does at the deadline. I would love to say it is, but I think there are a lot better teams out there than them right now, with the Devils, the Hurricanes, the Stars. I think those three teams are favorites right now. So the Rangers need to keep playing hot. We need to see Lafreniere and Kako and Hedel take that next step, and we need to see something at the deadline. This team, if everything breaks right, this team could win a cup.
It's funny you mentioned those three teams, and nobody talks about the Bruins winning anything because they only got that one cup, and it was 2011 with that group. And now, obviously, Bergeron's gone, and so they kind of have a bit of a different looking team. And they're 6-0 right now. I think they haven't lost a game. They picked up right where they left off last year.
Yeah,
But
it's like, you pick these
but the
guys
first
off
round
the
loss
anything.
last year to the Florida Panthers. So now you're like, okay, what have you done for me lately? Nobody gets too high on the Bruins. It's funny how sports is like that.
It's really funny how sports like that. Everyone's picking the Bruins to take a step back, and it's nope, we're continuing to be dominant like we have been for the past decade.
Yeah, and then just see how come the playoffs. Yeah, you didn't win again. You didn't win again. And Marchand's not
Exactly.
the guy. What's the? I ask everybody to have on the show. What's Connor Bedard mania like out there? Like, he's going to end up playing in New York at some point, not for the Rangers, but with Chicago against the Rangers. What's the Bedard hype like out that in your neck of the woods?
Pretty high. We're all like really excited to have this guy come out to Madison Square Garden or the Prudential Center and watch him play. Like, I have guys who don't even follow hockey, but they saw he was 18 years old, and they're like, "Oh, when's this guy coming? Is he going to come nearby? Like, we kind of want to see this guy play." So Bedard is attracting people to hockey who wouldn't watch it beforehand. So I think it's pretty cool to watch.
You wrote an article for Belly Up Sports there. I read it this morning about another ex Ranger, but more prevalent, an ex Chicago Blackhawk and Patrick Kane. And it's kind of funny that the Rangers or someone I know he's rehabbing his hip. He's been played the game for so long at such a high level, the body's bound to break down. But it's funny that the Rangers had to have this guy last year, the deadline, and in all accounts, it didn't really do anything throughout. It could have been because of the wear and tear in his body, but for all accounts, the acquisition of Patrick Kane for the Rangers didn't really do a whole bunch for them last year. You said that a good fit for him. I don't want people not to read your article, but you said a good fit for him would to be with the Detroit Red Wings. Is that a realistic? Tell me why that's a realistic thing for Patty Kane to end his career out there in Detroit.
Well, it's realistic because you have Alex DeBrincat out there. Now, DeBrincat, he played with Kane before the Blackhawks began this rebuild, and before he traded Patrick Kane and Alex DeBrincat, there was this thought that these are the next two pieces that we can build this franchise around. I think it was 2021 season. The Blackhawks scored 569 points, and Kane and DeBrincat, when they're on the line together, qualified for a third of those. So Kane knows he's taking a step back a little bit. He's probably going to want to go somewhere with some familiarity, some chemistry. He did really good with DeBrincat. He goes out to Detroit and plays with DeBrincat, and just DeBrincat helps him continue his legendary career.
No, I never thought that because I thought for sure he would be going to a place like maybe I don't want to say Toronto because they're not going to win a cup in my life. Look, I'm getting old; they're not going to win in my lifetime, in my opinion. But that's just one of those things with Toronto. Let's go out to Edmonton a little bit. Like you brought up McDavid, obviously, who's out. He's the best player to ever play the game. Not the greatest, because that's Wayne Gretzky forever, no matter what. But he's the best to ever play the game. He does things at such a high level, high speed. When do you think, or if, because he's up for contract in a couple of years, do you think McDavid's ever going to go, you know what, this ain't working? They're already talking about firing the coach again this year, and he's been through 4 or 5 coaches already out there in Edmonton in his 8-year career, which is crazy. I think he's been around for 8 years already. But is there a point you think that maybe McDavid might go, you know what, I'm out. We're not doing anything here?
I definitely think there could be a breaking point, especially if it's, continuing losses, continuing struggling, just changing around. It's like enough's enough. I want to go win somewhere, especially as he's getting, maybe not in the coming years, but as he gets to, year 12, year 13, year 14, and, the play might, slip back a little bit and he still doesn't want a cup yet. He might be like, well, now it's now or never. I need to go somewhere where I can win a cup right now for my legacy.
He's going to get to that point where the point totals are going to plateau and say drop to, like, this is going to sound crazy, drop to 120 points a year instead of the 150 that we're kind of getting used to. Like, oh no, what are we going to do? It's only got 120 points. But eventually the point totals do plateau when you go down. You look at Steve Eisman with those great Detroit teams back in the late 90s there, that they have to reinvent themselves a little bit to find themselves to win a championship, because you can have all the Art Ross and the Hart trophies on your mantle, everything you want to go with. But when it's all said and done, if you don't have one of those at least one of those championship rings, I don't want to say you're just another guy, but if you're in the Hall of Fame and on your plaque, it doesn't say Stanley Cup champion on it, it's a bit of I would say it's a bit of a disappointment.
Oh yeah. I mean, in every sport, if you don't win a championship, it's disappointment. Like, Dan Marino might be one of the most talented quarterbacks you've ever seen, but he didn't win a Super Bowl, and that's the first thing you bring up when you talk about Dan Marino is, oh, he's the greatest, but he never won anything. McDavid's not going to want to have that type of legacy behind him.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that team's in trouble again. I know it's early, but like when you look as bad as they are right now with no goaltending, like not even no goaltending, bad goaltending, and that's something that you can't get away from. Get a serviceable guy, and you'll do better. Obviously, prediction time. Who do you got? And go with your heart or your head, not your heart. Go with your head, not your heart. This early in the season, who do you got winning the Stanley Cup, and tell me why?
So right now, I'm still gonna go with my prediction. Sticking with Stars and Hurricanes, Stars over the Hurricanes. I just really like the Stars roster. I really like that young core of Robertson, Heiskanen, and Ottinger. Because in hockey, you need a good goaltender, a dynamic forward, and a good guy in the blue line. And the Stars got all those in one draft. I think those three are going to be a problem for hockey for years to come. And they have good depth with Matt Duchene.
Yeah, they got a hell of a team down there in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get like they've been hanging around for a long time. And that's one thing I've always kind of been against is if you just hang around being mediocre gets you mediocre because you can't draft guys and you can't get this guy and everything else. And the Texas or Dallas has kind of found a way to not be like Vancouver Canucks, just mediocre, and then all of a sudden it just falls apart, right? So it's one of those things you got to admire them a little bit. Let's switch sports a little bit here. I know I think you're a Mets guy.
Unfortunately,
what happened there with that team? They they went for it. They didn't go. They didn't do anything with it. Owner Steve Cohen, he went out and spent $8 billion on everything else, and that was just on this year's payroll. And now they got rid of Verlander, and then they got rid of Scherzer, and now they're still on the hook to pay for those guys to pit. I mean, money's not into this guy anyways. But
no.
What happened with the Mets this year?
I think we just had regression from players that we couldn't withstand. Scherzer struggled through. He was up and down at the beginning of the year. Verlander was out for a month. Starling Marte had all-season surgery and was never able to bounce back. And Marte was like the one bat in this lineup that was so consistent. Like, it's lost. Marte was batting .300 most of the year last year. Like, I feel like that's lost because of the guys, like Lindor and Alonso in the lineup. But Marte was a very, stable, secure bat. I think once that safety blanket was gone, it just fell apart from there. And we spiraled and just could not get out of our own way.
Yeah, it's crazy how that turned out. Everybody had high hopes for them. They were talking World Series, everything else, and the money. And holy cow! And it just never happened. Who do you? The World Series is set. I was 100% shocked when the Arizona Diamondbacks took out the Phillies out there because I thought the way the Phillies were rolling after those first two games, going up 2-0, going out to Arizona, and then barely hanging when now they're out and then losing 2 at home to finish out the NLCS. Are you as shocked as I am that the Phillies aren't going to the World Series for the second time in a row?
I was certain we were going to have Astros Phillies for the second year in a row. I thought there's no way the Diamondbacks are going to win 2 games in Citizens Bank Park. But hats off to them. They figured out a way to do it. I'm happy for them as a Mets fan. I don't have to watch the Phillies in the World Series, and that's pretty good.
There you go. It's really interesting to see how I thought eventually the Astros had a bad season all year long. They or at home they just couldn't get anything going at home. But I thought 1 out of 2 games they might get something done, and to lose all 4 at home and then lose the series 4-3, I was shocked when that went out because I just figured that Dusty Baker would get a win out of those guys, especially one of the last 2 games. I was shocked.
Yeah, no, me too. I was shocked too.
Who do you got win the World Series?
So I want to say Diamondbacks because it's a little bit of a funny coincidence. So the last time the Diamondbacks won the World Series, Randy Johnson killed a bird in spring training, and this year Zach Gallen accidentally killed a bird when he was doing long toss. So there is that connection, but I think the Rangers pitching is just too good for the Diamondbacks. It's a nice story, but I probably had the Rangers in 6.
That's I'm kind of leaning that way, but for some reason this Diamondbacks team, they run the base really well, and they took advantage of the new rules, and they also they pitch it pretty well. And you look at their bullpen. The only problem I got is sometimes they get a little too cute, and they go with the binder a little bit too much, and they have a script, and eventually that comes back to bite you. You put the baseball in too many people's hands, and it comes back to bite you a little bit, but. Man, no, I think you're right. I think the Rangers win in 6. I think they just hit it too well, and they went out and spent some money last season. And it's crazy to think that both teams had over 100 losses just 2 years ago, and they're right there this year. So no, it's going to be interesting to see how it all goes out.
And they built it differently too, which is interesting. Like one team did more like development, one team went out and bought their roster. So we had
it's funny. So there's no real script to say how to win a World Series. I know my team and your team haven't figured it out for quite some time. So it's one of those things. It's I don't see the Yankees. Like you look at the rosters of the Yankees and the Mets and how these teams are built, and then you look at the 2 teams that are, or you look at the 4 teams or whatever it might be that were in the LCS in National League and the American League. The Yankees and the Mets it seems to me, are so far away. I know that the Mets or the Yankees had 83 wins and Arizona had 84, but it just seems that they're just built differently, and there's something that's missing on both franchises.
It's especially with the Yankees. I just feel like Cashman has built such a flawed roster where it's so the lineup is so reliant on Aaron Judge that if he's not there, they fall apart. Like, it's not like, oh, they take a little step back. It's like, no, they go from scoring like 4 runs night to like nothing.
Nothing. Like absolutely nothing. And it's crazy how that team turned out. Anyways, Brian, thanks very much for doing this. Where can we find all your stuff and what do you got going on? I know you're a busy guy with everything you got going on there.
Guy. So, of course, I'm on Belly Up Sports writing articles. Every week I do a recap of the Notre Dame game for the Notre Dame debriefing, which is on Belly Up Sports. Covering hockey and baseball like always. Me and Nate from the Nate and Chase podcast have started a New York Giants podcast called the G-Men Corner. That's on the Nate and Chase YouTube channel. 30 minutes Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. We recap the game Mondays. Big picture stuff on Wednesday, and then we preview the game Friday. So definitely go check that out. And of course, if you're in the Albany area or if you have iHeartRadio, look up WVCR 88.3 The Saint. And on Sunday nights at 8, you'll hear my voice talking about all things New York sports on the back pages.
That's a lot of fun, a lot going on there. It's good. You keep working, keep plugging away, keep grinding, because it's good things will happen when you work at it. It's something that I kind of wish I did when I was your age. I gave up on it, but now with the power of the internet, things have changed a little bit. But no, keep
and
grinding.
That's great.
Yeah, because they obviously didn't have this when I was your age. It wasn't really a thing. So it's a good thing to keep grinding, keep going on. I enjoy listening to everything you guys do, and your articles are always great. So thanks very much for doing this. Before we go, what's wrong with the Giants? Honestly.
I think the offensive line is horrific to begin with. They played decent the past couple of games, but the offensive line's bad. Daniel Jones has regressed to a point where the contract seems like a big mistake. The Giants need to seriously consider moving on from Daniel Jones. Unless he retires, he'll be the starting quarterback next year. But Shane really needs to sit down and go, is this the guy to lead our franchise forward? Because Dable put more on Jones's plate this offseason, and he couldn't do it. That's where the struggling came in. So, yeah, that's where the issue with the Giants is.
Me and my co-host on the 1420 podcast that we do on Mondays and Thursdays, we talk about quarterbacks a lot and the overpayment that these guys get just because they might be a lot. Like most of these guys haven't proven it. Like you look throughout the league, most of these guys have not, and they just get contracts because they're quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you look at in Buffalo, Allen's supposed to be great, but he's not. Like he turns the ball over a lot.
Regressed this year badly.
He's regressed, and then you go like Burrow's good, but he can't get over the hump. You like it because he's still chasing Mahomes. You look over, you go to the West Coast, and you look at Herbert. He's okay. But to give these guys 35 and 40 million bucks and just to say that that's the going rate for a quarterback, it doesn't have to be. Like these guys aren't that. You don't want to say they're not that good because they're the top of the upper echelon. Obviously, athletes who play quarterback. If without a good quarterback, you don't normally win.
Unless you're Kyle Shanahan.
Trent Dilfer's obviously got himself a Super Bowl years ago, but like none of these guys are better than Mahomes, and to give him money that even comparable, it's shocking to me. Like it's absolutely shocking me how much money are given these guys who are just okay at best.
Yeah, and then you hurt the rest of the roster because you can't go out and spend for everyone else. Like you can be whatever you want about Tom Brady. He always took pay cuts so the rest of the roster could be good around him.
100%.
Maybe more guys need to, if they truly care about winning, maybe more guys need to go down that road.
Yeah, 100%. No, Brian, thank you very much for doing this. We'll have to do it again. Just anytime you guys need anything, just let me know. We'll hook up. Maybe we'll get you on talk about the Giants football season later on in the season when it's their post-mortem, because it's coming no matter what. Could be this weekend. He could be done as early as this weekend, and then we'll talk some Rangers hockey maybe around Christmas and see how they're doing. Thanks very much for doing this, man.
Thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
All right, the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast, for Beer with Sports, talking a whole lot more. This segment was brought to you by SeatGeek.com and the SeatGeek app. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today.
The foul baller. If there's a ball that's gone foul, he's gone to get it. Under his watchful gaze, all bevs, binoculars, and ballpark brats are safe. He's the only thing that stands between his section and certain destruction. That's why he only trusts SeatGeek with his tickets. The ticketing app trusted by fans. SeatGeek, so fans can fan.
Once again, thanks to our friends at SeatGeek for sponsoring the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast and 1420 in the morning. Use promo code 1420pod at SeatGeek.com today and get yourself 20% off or $20 off your first purchase over there at SeatGeek. And once again, thank you very much to Brian Germinaro for joining us of Belly Up Sports and of 88.3 WBCR, the Saint out of Albany. Thank you very much for joining us. Talk some Rangers hockey. Greatly appreciated. And those boys, they grind. They put it out there on a daily basis. Hockey fan, baseball fan. He's working hard to make a career out of this somehow, some way. It's a dog eat dog world, and we're eating milk bone underwear sometimes, it feels like. But anyways, let's get to on this day and a tip of the cap and see everybody later. On this day in 1991, one of, if not the best World Series games ever played was played at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in front of 55,118 Rockets fans in a World Series game that saw a home team win every game, had 3 extra inning games, and 5 of the 7 games were decided by 1 run. This Game 7 was a perfect way for this series to end. Dad Gladden and his mustache led off the 10th inning with a double to center field, would eventually score on a Gene Larkin single to end the game. Jack Morris went 10 innings for the Twins, giving up 7 hits, walking 2 and striking out 8 in the game. Morris was also named the World Series MVP as he went 2-0 in his 3 starts with 1.17 ERA. It was 2 World Series, Twins' second World Series championship in 5 years. They won also in 1987 in another 7-game thriller against the St. Louis Cardinals on this day in 1991, one of the greatest baseball series, one of the greatest baseball games ever played. It made all the ESPN lists and everything else. It was absolutely amazing. You think that Morris going 10 innings, who was going to walk up to him and say, I'm taking you out of the game? What was his name? Tom Kelly was the manager back then. And to even it probably never even crossed his mind to take Morris out of that game at that point. It's a far cry 32 years later how the analytics have taken over and the old eye test doesn't really work anymore. But can you imagine those guys like Jack Morris getting pulled out of a game with a shutout in the World Series? It would never, ever happen. And a 14-20 tip of the cap goes out to Dusty Baker, who announced his retirement from the game of baseball yesterday after a 19-year playing career where he played with Hank Aaron in Atlanta, with the Braves, and LA with the Dodgers, helping them win a World Series in 1981. And then played with the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants before becoming a coach. Then a manager, first the Giants from 93 to 2002, the Cubs in 03 to 06, the Reds from 08 to 13, the Washington Nationals from 16 and 17, and then came out of retirement for the 2020 season to take over the Houston Astros after A.J. Hinch was let go following the sign stealing scandal and all that going on. Baker was very successful in his 4 years with the Twins, 4 straight American League Championship Series, a World Series title in 2022, and from what all accounts, one of the really good guys in all of baseball. No getting around that in all professional sports anyway. So Dusty Baker, one of the good guys. You remember when his kid was I think it was a JT Snow saved him at home plate. His kid was the bat boy. You remember all those years ago with the Giants and everything else. But it was Dusty Baker, always smiling, toothpick in mouth, and always wearing the wristbands and everything else. And there he is, Dusty Baker. So there it is, the 14-20 tip of the cap to Dusty Baker. Once again, thanks to Brian Germiano for joining us. We have a lot going on here at World Headquarters. Lots of highlights and going on. But Dave and I are recording. We recorded last night. Sorry. So make sure you check that one out. We had a lot of fun recording that one. It was a lot. We always get into our Thursday a little bit, so it's one of those ones we had some spirited conversations, to say the least. Anyways, 14-20. We won't be doing anything over the weekend. I got a lot of other stuff going on, so we'll probably be back to on Monday morning with 14-20 in the morning, and then our usual NFL recap 14-20 style coming up on Monday night. So that should be a lot of fun as always. We'll add to our list that we have been compiling since week 1 of the football season. So there it is. There is 14-20 in the morning all week long. Successful week here at World Headquarters. Lots going on. Make sure you go to SeatGeek.com if you're going to a game this weekend and use our promo code. If you're going to a concert, even you can even use it there. You can for the opera if you're one to go to the opera. I'm not, but if you are, you can go right ahead. Anyways, there's 14-20 in the morning for this 27th day of October. And remember, it doesn't matter where you are, it's who you're with. Have a good day, folks. We'll talk to you again on Monday. You just listened to the 14-20 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with the sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the